In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a practice that we can use that will help us really see our suffering, pain, challenges as life lessons and really translate those over and really learn from them. This practice is called Tapas and it is one of the niyamas in the Yoga Sutras. So tapas, to define it, it really is about heat. So it's to heat. It's like a fire. It can be translated as an austerity, a purification process. I sometimes think of it as like friction or like scrubbing, abrasion, fire. Um, think of when you purify a metal, you have to melt it down. You have to put it in the fire to melt it down so that the impurities come to the top and you can wipe them off. Or like boiling water before you drink it so you don't ingest any toxins, things like that. So this is what this heat is about, bringing this heat in and working with it to help purify the body is what tapas is representing. So tapas as a practice is really a self kind of inflicted fire, right? You're kind of putting yourself through a challenge to see like what can come of it. Um, some of these like spiritual austerities, like if we go to the extremes, you're talking about like fasting, vows of silence, chastity, things like that that are like more extreme. Or you can be thinking of like changing a habit in a like really deep self-discipline way. So say you're trying to practice yoga on a daily basis, but you're not used to it yet. So developing that as a habit is a challenge and it will like you'll run into a problem with that like mentally or even physically. You'll you'll have days where you just don't want to do it. And pushing through that is really what's going to heat you up and like kind of help with that purification process. Teaching yourself this self-control and this self-discipline is super important when we're talking about meditation because really taking control of the subconscious mind, you need both hands on the reins, full attention. You can't let go, you can't look away for 1 minute. I love the term monkey mind because think about a monkey. Like if you look away from it, like if you're trying to tame a monkey, I've never actually tamed a monkey before, but I know if you're trying to tame a monkey and you look away for 1 second, that thing is gone. And it's the same with the mind. You experience it for yourself. If you're trying to observe your mind, you'll see it will go all over the place. You need to discipline your mind to set like both hands on the reins. I'm telling you, that's the best way I can think of it. I always think of like a horse. There's both hands on the reins, and that way you can guide your mind and like calm it down. There's also a famous painting in Buddhism of the meditation path, and it's like a winding path going up, and there's this monk coming out of the temple, and he's chasing literally a monkey and an elephant. He's and you can tell his goal is to tame the monkey and the elephant, and that is like that path is the description of what it's like to really tame the mind with these practices. So having self-discipline is really the only way to do this. You can't do it for 1 day and then not do it the next day and then do it like you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. And I know I say that a lot on this channel. You have to be consistent because it's true. You have to. Um, and taking this practice of tapas, I'll talk about more like ideas on specifics on what you can do, but you can use this in other parts of your life too, on developing healthy routines, habits, um, even diets to help you show yourself that you can be consistent in something. So that way, when you go into your meditation, you have to know, like, I can do this. I can go into this fire. I put myself into this fire before. Um, yeah, and ultimately this fire, like this cleansing, it will help you in life situations too. Like when challenges come up that you don't have control of, then you'll react better. You'll be like, oh, I'm just on fire. This is kind of a regular thing. I do this to myself all the time. Um, and of course, some situations are going to be worse than others because life is one of the first sorry, one of the first Four Noble Truths in Buddhism is life is suffering, which sounds not that fun. But when you turn it around and you say, like, the sufferings are lessons that can be applied to the root of, or the path that I'm taking, then you can see it in a different way. Another reason tapas can be really beneficial is a lot of the things that we're trying to purify ourselves of, I have been stuck there for generations in, at least your lifetime. So what these are called, some of these things are called what's called samskaras. These are like deeply ingrained patterns in your mind that like kind of direct the way your life goes. They're like, my teacher said, they're like when a wagon is going down a dirt road and there's like the tracks are on there. That's like you being literally stuck in a rut. That's where that comes from. That's the ruts that are down on the dirt road and your wheels are just in them. And when you're talking about a carriage, which I was kind of thinking of in my head, then the wheels are like thin and like they're not gonna move around. They're gonna go through that track, go down that track. In order to get them out, you have to do a lot. You have to pull them all the way up and get them out. Um, so these aren't things that really with the mind, it can't be really fixed all at once or overnight. These are challenging things. We want to kind of smooth them out. Um, kind of like washing the dishes, but not all at once. If we look at the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna breaks down tapas into three forms. So tapas of body, tapas of speech, and tapas of mind. So the tapas of body, it's um it's done by cleanliness, simplicity, continence, and non-violence. Tapas of speech are words that do not cause distress, are truthful, inoffensive, and beneficial, as well as recitations of Vedic scriptures. And tapas of the mind are serenity of thought, gentleness, silence, self-control, and purity of purpose. So those are some examples on what tapas could look like in a spiritual sense. It's also emphasized that when practicing these things, like when you're practicing tapas, you don't want to specifically be doing it because you're trying to gain something out of it. You have to do it with like kind of this sense of like you're trying to remove impurities. You're not trying to gain something from it. That goes with pretty much all yoga practice. You're not trying to gain anything. What you're trying to get to is what's underneath everything that is on, like stacked on and gunked on. And shifting from an unhealthy lifestyle to a more healthy lifestyle is a modern form of tapas. So uh, people tend to fall into an unhealthy lifestyle. I'm not excluded from this because it's easier. It feels better sometimes, like in the little moments, right? When you're eating sugar or you know, even you get like addicted to the foods that we eat, the sugars, the caffeine. So getting off of that is really can be challenging, and it's sometimes you don't want to do it. Like my mom won't touch a broccoli, things like that. People are that's it happens. And to really put yourself through it to shift into that more healthy lifestyle where you have to take more time too. Another thing that makes eating more unhealthy easier is that it's more convenient. It tends to be faster to make those foods like a macaroni and cheese or something like that, or going through a drive-through restaurant, um, where you don't have to do it yourself. You're just waiting on someone else to do it. Um, Of course, there are drive-throughs that are more healthy, but you don't exactly know everything that's in there. Maybe you have a restaurant that you know of that's good, but overarchingly, the drive-through is usually not going to be the best food, right? So when we get into this unconscious, like unhealthy eating pattern, we're really just satisfying a feeling that we have. We're like, we're hungry, so we're going to eat to satisfy that hunger, rather than thinking of it as how my body needs nutrients, so I'm going to provide it those nutrients. And that is what I'm doing here. I'm not worried about like the healing the hungry. Um, I'm really trying to bring the nutrients into my body that it needs. And of course, you're going to be hungry, and the hunger is going to be satisfied through eating, but being more mindful about what it is that you're eating, because we are what we eat. When you eat it, what happens? It breaks, your body breaks it down and it turns it into all of this. Your bones, your muscles, everything comes from the food we eat. And it's all replaced, like even our bones are replaced every 7 years or so, I think. It was 7 to 10 years, something like that, where it's like completely replaced with new tissues and all of that. So it's interesting to think about, right? It's what you eat, your body will turn it into whatever your body needs it to be. And the higher quality of foods that you're eating is better for your body, right? But again, transitioning into this, like, gotta eat your broccoli, gotta eat your vegetables, eat things that are more recently come from the ground rather than something that's been sitting in a box for 3 months. Things like that, shifting into the idea of spending more time cooking, spending more time with food prep, shifting your mindset into that, that's going to be the tapas. Um, yeah, it's gonna like challenge you a bit because you're not gonna want to do it. You're gonna be like, oh, I could do that, but I could also just eat this bag of potato chips. That's much easier and it's right here, easier to do. Forget tapas. I'll eat the broccoli tomorrow. I'm guilty of this too sometimes. Potato chips are my downfall. I will say that. I love potato chips. Another thing you can think of is learning something new, right? If you're trying to learn something new, it's probably going to be challenging for you at first, and you have to study daily. You have to study daily and practice, whether you're learning an instrument or learning a new art medium or learning a subject. You have to practice regularly so you can really get it down. I mean, there's some things that might come naturally to you, but not so naturally that like you've done everything about that thing right away. Like there's almost always something deeper to get into it if you study more or practice more or you challenge yourself with it. So challenging yourself on a regular basis, then you can learn better how to perfect whatever it is that you're trying to do, a trade, a art, whatever it is, music, something like that. And while you're practicing, while you're learning, you're going to be making mistakes as you go. And from those mistakes is where you'll learn, like directly, oh, like maybe that's why I shouldn't do it that way and I should do it this way. Okay. And then when you have that direct experience, that practical experience, you'll really understand, like it'll be ingrained in you rather than just reading it in a book, like, oh, this is how to do that. Well, I could probably do that someday. And if you don't practice it or try it, or you won't be able to make the mistakes that you're going to make. And then you won't learn from them until you do it. Um, yeah, so that's another form of tapas. Um, just the getting yourself consistent and learning, and then also the failing and then the learning from the failing. And there are a few ways to cultivate and practice tapas in our asana practice as well. So think for me in my asana practice, if I'm practicing fast, like moving quickly through a practice, for me, that's very tapas. That's heats my body up, and I also really don't like doing it. I love, if you practice on my channel, I love moving slowly, and I find a lot of value in that. I think sometimes I think of myself as like a sloth person. I just like moving slow, then hanging out in that pose for several breaths, and then moving to the next pose. For another person, that staying in one pose and holding it can be mentally taxing, and that might make someone feel like they're crazy or something. They're like, I can't practice like this, and that's tapas. That's your tapas then. So think about your asana practice. What are you like too comfortable in what you're doing? If you're always moving slow or if you're always moving fast, try the opposite. Try moving really slow or move fast more frequently. And this will really kind of help you test yourself and really put yourself into a situation where you're kind of like, oh man, this is a little bit a lot, and I don't love it, but that you can learn about yourself from that. And another thing that kind of matches with what I've already spoken about is developing a more consistent practice. When you develop a practice that is daily, especially, you'll gain something different from it than you would if you are only practicing 3 times a week. You can gain from either method, but it's definitely different. You would see a difference if you try to cultivate a daily practice in what it does for your mind, your body, and your soul. So something that's really important to note when you're practicing tapas, it's important to balance tapas with compassion. So let's say you don't have a meditation practice right now, and you decide you're going to meditate for 1 hour every day, starting right now. And that's your commitment to yourself. You're going to meditate for 1 hour every day. For to me, I don't recommend that because to me, I see that as something you're going to meditate for 1 hour possibly if you get through it. And then the next day, you're not going to want to meditate for an hour, especially if you don't have a meditation practice already. I would recommend starting with 5 minutes um, because meditation gets really challenging. You're finding that balance. Where are you going to set your bar? You don't want to set it so low that what you're practicing is too simple for you, but you don't want to set it too high that you're going to fail. You want to like find that midpoint. Also, it's important if you do fail, don't criticize yourself. Don't be overcritical. Just say, oh, I set the bar here. Maybe I should have set it here instead. And then if you still fail, oh, maybe I should have set it here. And then if you succeed, say, oh, well, maybe I'll try it again. If you succeed again, then you can lift it up a little bit. Like that. Learning where to set that bar, it's where the magic is. Like learning, that's where you really learn about yourself. You're like, oh, I set it too high that time. I set it too low. What am I learning about myself during this process of deciding where, like, what I should do? Um, an example for me relating to this channel, when I started this channel in 2022, was it in 2022? No, it was in 2023. When I started this channel, I decided I'm going to start my YouTube channel for the first time and I'm going to post 2 videos every single week. Turned out that was too high for me, and I didn't realize it until I started going down. Like I was like puttering out, and then I totally burnt out by October of that year. So I did pretty well. Um, and I sustained it for a while, but it wasn't going to stay. Like I was starting to get so tired. Um, all of the sequences that I've made that are on this channel are good, but they're not like super inspired like the ones I've been making lately. They're more of like almost a means to an end sometimes. And, I've been moving through them actually. I'm going to be setting them up into different playlists now, and I've been moving through them. And, the sequences themselves are really good, but like they could be more inspired, I would say. So, like themed, really having deep messages in them because that's what I really love doing in my more recent um videos. So probably over time, if I don't have a new class in mind, I'll maybe revamp some of the old ones and make them more like make them have more of a message rather than just simply movement for movement's sake. But once again, they are good sequences. So if you do go back into those, I'm separating them into chakra playlists right now. So once I get that done, I will post those chakra playlists and you can move through them that way. That way they have somewhat of a theme without me having to refilm them yet. Um, but yeah, so that's something that came up when I was journaling about tapas. That was just too much for me. It caused me to burn out and fail. So when I started again this year, I was actually posting videos every other week, which was like a drastic like cutback. Like, okay, I'm starting again, but only every other week. And now I'm up to every single week. I've got videos coming out. And for me, like I move pretty slowly. So my my first 6 months of this year was every other week. And literally in the beginning of July, I started with every week. So I think I will go through the end of this year with every week before deciding whether I'm going to change something or something like that. So start small, make small steps, but don't start too small. You want to get to that point where you're almost going to fail, but you don't. Or maybe you get to that point where you do fail and you realize you have to pull back a little bit. again, the failures are the lessons here. So when you mess up on something, you know that you have to pull back. And again, have that self-compassion. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's okay. No matter what it was, I promise it's going to be okay. Just try again, set your bar lower, and then you can gradually improve from there. You know, if you improve 1% every day over the course of a year, you'll have improved 300%. So fun to think about like that. I hope you reflect on tapas in your own life. I'm going to post some journaling prompts in the description below. So feel free to check those out, write on it. And if you like, you can leave a comment letting me know how this made you feel. Um, Hopefully all of this made sense. And if you have any questions, please do drop it in the comments. I would love to clarify anything that I didn't clear or speak clearly enough for you. My next lecture will be about more of the niyamas, one called Svadhyaya, about really examining the self. So I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you soon. Namaste.